What's up, flooring family? Welcome to the Huddle. Coming to you every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central. We discuss various topics on maintaining forward progress in your flooring career. With me, as always, and sometimes I'm the one missing, is Daniel and Jose Gonzalez from Preferred Flooring up in Grand Rapids, Michigan. The premier flooring contractor and installer, residential, commercial, mainly commercial though, up in Grand Rapids. So look them up. All right, what's going on, fellas?
How's it going, brother? We're just here doing our
wonderful thing.
Sharing the socials right now, so that's why we're looking down at our phones.
Yeah, well, we got to get the crowd on here and get some interaction. Well, how was last week's huddle? Good. I watched a little bit of it. Looked like it went pretty well. Just
everyone was like, man, everything is so much better when Paul's not there.
I heard viewership was up and everything. I should miss more often.
It was. Daniel pointed it out right away.
So there was one of my buddies is an electrician, and then we had a meeting the next day at one of the construction companies, and he came up to me. He was like, it's my first time able to actually watch a full podcast. He was like, it was crazy because everything that you talk about is what's going on in the electrical industry right now. And it's like, it's not just flooring related, it's the entire construction industry, I think. So a lot of the stuff that we talk about, other trades can relate to as well.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. With the other specialty contractors, I mean, we run in the same circles, have the same issues. I would assume a lot of the same labor problems even.
I think cool. Business in general, probably, right? Just a different hat, different title.
Yeah, we should do a podcast this next year called Around the World of Trades, and have all just a rep from every trade on, and let's just talk
how everything is the same.
Yeah, our GCs may not like hearing that every trade has the same complaints, but
it was actually it was the vice president of the construction company came up to us. He overheard us talking, and he said the same thing. Like, he feels it because last week was a new generation, right? Talking about the younger people coming in, and he said we feel that too. It's like people coming in starting, they want to make that same dollar amount as you're making right now, right off the back, with zero experience. And I think
I'm sure from that perspective, that was a great topic. That perspective has got to be shared with most people in construction in general.
Yeah, and it can go a lot of different ways under that topic too, but it's just we could talk for days about that. We can talk days about almost anything.
Sure, we almost do sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, so this week is managing customer expectations. I think this is a really important topic if you are doing flooring in specific. But probably, like we talked earlier here, all the trades. But the one thing that with flooring is we're so disruptive. You can kind of rewire a house or do some plumbing work, or even painting without completely displacing your client. So we're pretty disruptive in that manner. So managing those expectations, what are some key points under that? Like, what are some key, give you one example of a key topic underneath that topic is like time. Managing the expectation of time. A lot of times, specifically in commercial, they just think it's going to go down. Sometimes they think it's going to take you a week when you can do it in 2 days. And sometimes they think it's going to take you 2 days and it should take 2 weeks.
Yes.
And managing that, what are some of the low-hanging fruit for people to to, you know, start doing that with their customers, because if you don't do that, you're going into the lion's den on every job.
I would start by saying for under promise and over deliver, right? If you lead with that, then it's just going to help you out in the end. If you are under promising it, but then way over delivering, that could also hurt as well, right? You don't want to say, I need this for 5 days, push the other trades out of the way for 5 days, and you're done in 1.5. He's like, what? Like, if you know it's going to take you 3 days, give yourself 4. If you know it's going to take you, 5 working days, then give yourself till the next, if you start on a Monday, give yourself to the next week, Monday or Tuesday to wrap up, right? Like, then you
and
can
clear.
At the end.
I think clearly communicating that too in writing, in some manner, even if you're dealing with a homeowner, either on your proposal or in text messages following up the proposal, emails, whatever the means of communication is identifying that, but then also, communicating that in writing. It's saved our rear ends a time or two by communicating it in writing. So it's not like, no, you said it was going to take a week. No, I said 3 weeks. No, you didn't. Okay, now it's just my word versus yours. So either having it on a nice Gantt chart to show the timing, on a scheduling chart, but at the very least, communicating that is very, very important. That's like the first piece. And then when you're doing that, listen to what Jose said and, under promise, over deliver. And you're right. Just to speak to your point about sometimes if you do that too well, or it goes too well, then you end up like biting your butt, getting bit in the butt over it, because then they either expect it that next time they have you on a job or a project, and do not consider the different site conditions. They say, well, you got 4,000 feet of LVT, you laid it in a day, and this is 4,000 feet of LVT.
Yeah, this one's only 2,000.
Yeah, ought to be able to do it in a half a day.
Yeah.
Well, there are certain processes that take time, skim coating, prep, those kinds of things, that you gain efficiency of scale at larger stuff. And then, of course, not every layout's the same. Not all the products are the same. Not all the adhesives are the same on dry time. Is it a full, 100% pressure sensitive? Does it go in partially wet? Is it a wet set? There's all kinds of factors into that can change the total dynamic of the job. So,
and also,
I'm a big fan.
And also dealing with expectations set by previous installers. You're going to do things a little bit differently if they've had other installers, and I'm referring more to commercial than I am residential. They've had other companies that go in there and they go about things a different way, a different process than you. Whether it takes them longer or they can get it done in a shorter amount of time, and so, well, the last company was only here, they did every phase in 3 days or 4 days, and you're telling me 5. It's like, I'm sorry, I don't know. I can't speak for them. I can only speak for myself. This is our process. This is, sometimes you got to go step by step. And they say, well, they didn't do that. Well, they didn't even do that.
Right. A lot of it like that we deal with is like us going in there and then they're like, well, like he said, you're adding a day on, and then you pick up a carpet tile and they didn't scrape any of the adhesive. And it's like, well, and then you have to kind of explain to him, well, this is what they didn't do, and this is what we're going to do. And then if they didn't do it, why do you guys have to? It's constant.
Yeah.
And we always talk about this constant communication, right? Kind of going over
and education too.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the contractors that we work with don't deal with people like that. They're just like, and there was a post on one of the sites earlier. It was an inspection and they were like, why didn't you do this? And why didn't you do that? Wasn't on the work order. So they deal with people that are like that, right? The installers, it's not on the work order. That means I'm not going to do it because I'm not going to get paid for it. And that's kind of what we've been having to deal with. And it's like, well, this is how it's supposed to be, and I can give them all the documentation too, right? I mean, it's in everyone's documentation. Look at any. I mean, we always start with prep. Just look at the prep, and even the prep says that you either got to get it down to a thin film or it's got to be gone altogether.
And then priming it. If you do get it down to a residue, depending on which adhesive you're using, you possibly gotta prime it. And I mean, there's just so many things to it. Yeah, it seems to me like the education part is the piece that a lot of people forget, is giving that client the why. I know sometimes our guys fail to do that part. I think that's, you can't skin over that. You got to really explain that, like, backing systems change. Right now, this is the installation instructions. This is how it has to be done. This is why it's going to take us a day longer or 2 days longer, or whatever the case may be.
Right. And then, yeah, it's just a matter of communicating. If you know your process, communicate your process. It doesn't matter if it takes you longer or if you get it done quicker than the previous installer. Just worry about that one portion, that one phase, and communicate your worries. I mean, there's nothing else you can really do besides that, unless you're in the
Well,
position.
I mean, we're trying to give the audience some tools here, because we all deal with this. You guys know as well as I do how the pressure gets on during these projects, and it's like, we don't care. We just got to get it done. And giving tools to the audience that, like, communication, education about how it's supposed to be done and why you got to do it. It's like, those things are really almost paramount to the timing portion of managing the client's expectations. To back up in the cycle a little bit, what about sales? Managing
That's
at
where
the
my brain
sales,
was already going to.
right when you go to sell something, kind of throughout that sales process, managing the expectation from a wearability. Maybe that's just more education about the products that are available and where they should and should not be installed. But what kind of things do you think about when you think about management of expectations during the sales process?
So I think lately I don't want to say lately, but I found success into asking questions, right? Trying to find out what the issues are, what their worries are, and then building off of that, and then finding solutions moving forward. Whether it's a design build or it's already contracted, I just try to find out what their worries are, right? Because that's all that's going to be in their head when you're having a meeting and you're in the sales process. As they're concerned about losing money, they're concerned about displacement, they're concerned about hours of operation, dust. I mean, they have a lot of concerns. So I just try to, what are your top 3 concerns right now moving forward in this project? And then that leads to a lot of other questions and solutions, and that's how I try to go about it. But that's me.
I like that, dude. That's, ask straight up, what are your top 3 concerns?
Yeah.
But as we get started on this project.
And a matter of fact, I just had a meeting this week over there was a concern about a couple MRI machines, and they want to keep them operational, right? But then you have to worry about the magnetic pole, and I had a lot of questions, and the gentleman was just like, nobody's ever asked me any of these questions. I'm like, well, sorry, I just need to make sure that I understand, like, how many pounds for the mass and of the steel item, like, what can we do? And he was just like, I don't know, like, it's all listed under the ASTM standards for this, and that's why we're putting the marks in the floor. So it's just a matter of asking all the right questions at the beginning. Because now I know.
Yeah, you guys gonna have to use ceramic blades and ceramic knives and all that stuff.
You had to do that before, right? I think you told us about that.
Yeah, we had to buy a whole bunch. Amazingly enough, there's not like a kit.
So
we had to go searching for everything. We found a ceramic, knife like a knife, and then the blades themselves were ceramic. We had to use a plastic roller, like hand roller, or zinc, what is it? Potted steel or whatever it is that's not magnetic. I forget the composition of it. There's like very few metals you can use.
Yeah.
Aluminum, things
Aluminum.
like that, things that are not magnetic, but the knife blades and all that stuff.
You still have all this stuff?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, let me know if you guys, at the very least, and amazingly, it's not like it was expensive stuff. In fact, when you take metal out of everything, it tends to get cheaper all of a sudden. It's all made of plastic and rubber and all that stuff. Even the pins that held the roller together, we still have it, but it probably won't last you more than one job if you have any level of work, because
Yeah.
everything's made out of plastic. Even the pins that hold the wheels into the plastic hand holder, the whole thing is plastic.
Man, they can probably do a little bit better with some cast aluminum or something that's got a lower what's the property called?
It's the pins and stuff inside of them. You'll suck a pin right out of one of those things, and the cotter pins and all the stuff that holds it together. Like your regular rollers are made out of a lot of them aren't magnetic, the little hand rollers.
You said that,
but the pins and the rod that goes through to hold the wheels on is steel. So
one of the solutions was to wear a band around the arm and have all the hand tools tethered off.
So everything is grounded.
Well, it's tethered to you, so that when you let it go, it doesn't, because the smaller the tool, the less pull. The larger,
I don't know the magnetic pull exactly, but the
I'll
guy
find out this week.
that was dealing with the machine said he's seen it suck keys right through people's jeans. So, I don't know if I'd want to be tethered to something that's
Well, they do have some new rules, like the person cannot be between the unit and their tools anymore. They've had a couple of bad experiences, and one of the guys there said that his Milwaukee impact gun got sucked into it, boom, and hit it, and they had to shut it down, and it takes 2 weeks to power those things back on. So
yeah.
So anyway,
we'll talk offline on in the weeds on that. My brain is still remembering that project, but yeah, managing expectations from on the sales side for us is always talking about like the product expectation. How are they going to use the product or the space, and trying to get out in front of any quality concerns we might have. And then you got to do that again if you get to a job site that has really poor substrate or something, and you start talking about, I've got 5 days to do this area. I cannot get it all prepped perfectly and get this LVT or sheet vinyl or whatever installed in 5 days. So either I need 4 more days, or I need to manage the quality expectations and make it very clear, probably what the floor is going to look like to the best of our ability. That's another thing that's really important. And then, on the sales side, just to back up a bit again, payment expectations. Like I want to make sure that we kind of have clear rules around payment and releasing of funds, particularly when we deal with it's kind of written in the contract when we're dealing with our GCs, but if we're dealing with end users, which we do quite often, making sure that those understanding of a big end user project, hey, we need to get paid for stored materials as soon as we either order them or they, arrive at our warehouse or whatever mechanism it is. So if you're out there and you're just getting into commercial, these are some of the things you really want to think about. If you're working in residential through a shop, I know a lot of that's probably already handled and the salesperson does this stuff, but if you're selling a job to an end user on a commercial job, you want to talk through the payment expectations as well.
But you don't want to put yourself in a bad financial situation by floating funds that you probably shouldn't be floating. I mean, I just had a conversation with a company this week about it, and I was just like, "Well, are you guys bidding this? Oh, I would like to, but I need to find out if there's a better options for payment because that's a lot of material to be sitting on for two and a half years. The duration. I know that would be progressive billing, but she just said, "Oh, okay," click."
Can-
Daniel was like,
Progressive
"That wasn't her
progress
department.
billing.
That wasn't
Yeah.
her department." Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that meeting that I was saying earlier that we were at, they were actually talking about like redoing their payment terms
Mm.
for smaller contractors like us because they're trying to, get more small people in there.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is the only way that, we realize now that this is going to happen is if we actually go through and rewrite everything. And it's only going to be for, certain contracts. It's not going to be in every single contract. So that way, if you guys, do win a bid, it's a matter of these are your terms. And, if someone else wins it, they don't get those terms. So I think we're kind of in our area at that forefront where we go in and make a lot of noise, and we have been for the past few years. And it took 3-4 years, but they're finally hearing us.
Yeah, that's that's an interesting problem that a lot of people don't understand if they don't hear it from you, which is, yeah, I mean, profit money, that's one thing, but you can make all the profit in the world if the cash ain't flowing. The cash ain't flowing. And so, yeah, that's one of them deals where you guys going out there and communicating, that's again, another overarching theme. It seems like comes up in every podcast is communicating, but letting it be known that I'd love to do your job and I'll knock it out of the park for you, but we got to come up with some payment terms that
Yeah.
works for our company.
Yeah, 100%. And don't be shy about it, right? Like open communication at the beginning. If you wait until you are awarded the contract, then you say, "Hey, I can't come because not getting paid for the material." And it's, they're like, because of my job? No, it's because of all of them. There's no communication, but you can't wait until it's a problem to try to fix it. That's a really upfront communication or a conversation you should have up front at the beginning of any project. Know those dollars and cents going out, know the time frames. And then it could affect your installers too. Like if you have subcontractors doing all the work and you're tying up your finances on materials, just think about what it's going to do to the subs and your team that you have working for you, right? You can't put yourself in a bad spot there. That's because then communication from them isn't going to be so good.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you got to have somebody put the stuff down at the end of the day, so maintaining those relationships a lot of times are more important than anything. So it depending on how you pay your subs. I took a trip down to Texas and got an earful from a guy saying, well, if your platform would solve the problem of subs having to get paid every week, and when we have to wait till the contractor gets paid to get paid, and when in law, the contract governs all parties in the job. And I'm like, yeah, but there's very few subs that are going to wait 30, 60 days for their stuff. Why would they work through you then? They might as well go open accounts at the vendor and become your competitor. That the main reason subs are willing to do labor only is because they get paid every week. They don't have to wait on the money. As long as they do good quality work, they get paid each week by most contractors, not all, but most of them. Anyway, that's a whole nother podcast if we want.
Should probably write that one down.
So you were talking about prep earlier, right? We'll get back on track about prep, and you can't do anything destructive sometimes when you go look at these jobs, right? And there was just we just did an orthodontics office, and I was walking through and I see some signs of moisture and stuff, and it looked like it was topical. And come to find out, it was an insurance claim, and what happened was the cleaning people went in there with some chemical and flooded the place,
Oh,
and it turned all their tile like a pinkish color.
Hmm.
So I'm like, well, I don't know what's underneath here. So when I priced it out, I priced out self-leveling the entire thing, you know? And good thing I did, because it was
Jack.
like, I mean, they took an exterior wall down, extended it out to where it looked like there was a porch on there before. And I mean, it was fun.
Pretty gnarly, it sounds like.
Yeah,
What kind of tile was it? Just out of curiosity, it turned pink. Was it like LVT or was
yeah,
it?
it was an LVT.
Was it okay?
Yeah, it was an LVT. I don't know what brand or anything.
No, I was just curious. Rubber tile, LVT, VCT. What was the type of product?
Probably an 8 mil wear layer, 6 mil wear layer, bottom of the barrel, LVT. I mean,
I don't want to throw name brands out there, because I know who they were using, and we did not put that brand back in there. But they're happy with
That's
what we
probably
did.
best.
And you know, we went in there and
turned out really good.
it did.
Well, a lot of times, let me just ask you, why is this topic important? Why is it important to manage customer expectations?
Because customers are what help build your business. Customers are the best advertisement that any single company can have. You can shoot out as much socials as possible, advertise to your blue in the face. And it goes back to the thing that the guy, when I started doing flooring, Ray told me, he's like, you could do a million things right, bud, but the people will only remember you for the one thing you did wrong. And
that's really the point, right?
Yeah.
Like
and
you could knock it out of the park with quality. Say time is the problem, but if they get in there 3 days late, or what they felt was 3 days late, then they remember that, and that's what it's like they judge you by that. So it's important to be clear and concise on the what you can actually get accomplished, and not just give lip service to your clients. Sometimes that's a difficult conversation. I want to bring that up. Sometimes it's hard. Like, I can't do that in 5 days or whatever the time frame is. I need 10 days or 12 days or whatever. And that's when a lot of times you'll hear, well, I did this before we did another clinic in Pennsylvania and it only took 3 days.
People. Just throw five more people on it. Like, what's 5 more people going to do, man? This is like this. Yeah, I've had that conversation quite a bit.
So it's incredibly important to take this serious, to take the part of talking to your client, communicating expectations, and getting buy-in from them. That's that final piece, is like, you educate and you communicate with them and you tell them what the deal is, but then getting them to buy into that and believe that you're giving them the best. Your only goal is to give them the best product. Then you have a much better scenario that you're working under. You're going to have a happier client, like you just said, because you're going to meet the expectation, or just like we talked about earlier, maybe even beat it, because you didn't, you undersold and over delivered.
And I would like to add to that too, is humility goes a long way. The hard conversations, I mean, they're hard because nobody wants to have them, but they shouldn't be put off. They should be, hey, you have a few minutes, we have to talk. There's a couple things not going right, and I'd like to discuss this with you, right? Instead of trying to put out that fire when you hit that deadline and you're not done, or you have to have that communication. And as hard as it is every time, it does get easier to have that conversation. It doesn't get easier to face-to-face have the conversation or even on the phone, but it gets easier because you understand why you have to have it.
Yeah.
And
It's going to come up eventually anyways.
Right. And it's either it comes from you, or it comes from the results, or it comes from the people that are staffing the project. I'd rather it come from me.
Right.
100%.
Like if we ding a door or something, I mean, it's happens all the time, right? You hit a piece of trim, you know, hit a tool into a door or something or a wall, and it's like, hey, this is what happened. If you have someone to take care of it, that's awesome. You know, let me know. If not, we'll see what we can do to take care of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's an interesting thing you said, Daniel, that, you're going to have the conversation either way. You might as well have it up front, right? That's what you're implying. And I 100% agree. And it's because after the problems happened, or after you've already not met a schedule, or the quality of the product, maybe it got installed wonderfully, but it was just an impossible situation. Having that conversation at the end of the day, what's it sound like? It always sounds like excuses. On the front side, it sounds like planning. On the back side, it sounds like
Yes.
excuses.
That's a good way to put it.
So that's one of those management of clients' desires. And then sometimes you cannot you get into some situations where you cannot win. And then I would say document your rear end off.
Yep. And if you do recognize early enough of those situations where you can't win, is sometimes it's best to say, you know what, this conversation is going nowhere. I'm just going to try to take care of what we have to take care of, and we'll continue this at a later date. Try to walk away. I've been the person to not walk away, because when you feel you're right, you want someone to view your point only, right? But sometimes you got to walk away, cool down, and come back.
Well, let that meat marinate for a second. Let what you said marinate for a little bit, and then go back and a lot of times you'll see they'll come and say, "Hey, you kind of had a good point there. Like, how can we work through this?" If you like you said, you're humble,
right? And managing the expectations, right? Sometimes it's managing somebody else's feelings. Sometimes it's managing somebody else's life. And sometimes it's managing yours, and all that's got to be considered. And I think the older you get, the easier it is to recognize, right? Because you've just been through more situations. But when I was young, I definitely didn't want to recognize anything but getting floor down.
Yeah.
You're in my way. Get out of my way.
Well, sometimes you still got to be that way. It's
there's a
different
way.
wording though. Different wording.
Yeah.
just a different delivery.
Yeah. No. I'm about to shake you off that ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah, me too. Just start gluing.
Glue them in there. Glue around the ladder.
So, when you guys deal with residential, is there any particular parts of what we talked about that matter more, or a different way of discussing when you're talking to a homeowner? I know, just a quick backstory. We did residential, and we still do, but it's just like new residential, just not residential replacement unless it's for a really good friend. But back when I actually did the mobile showroom, long before, we're talking like 2002, 2003, 2002, we had a mobile showroom. And in doing that, I got out of the residential real quick. We were probably doing that for 6 months, and not because of sales, not because of profits. I just could not deal with, I was too young and too, yeah. And used to commercial, to manage those things. So how do you do that? Because people take off for vacation. They've got, Christmas holidays coming up, right? And people, they want their bathroom to look the best for when their family flies in, or they got a kitchen that they want to get remodeled right in time.
A whole bunch of scenarios that we just literally went through over the past so residential.
What's the nuance? That's what I'm trying to get. Like, what's the nuance for residential?
Patience. Understand that it's a home, not a business. And also understand that You're not working with a bunch of contractors who understand the language already. You're working with a homeowner who is essentially asking to be educated if they don't already know a little bit. And that is the hardest part that I have ever dealt with for residential is making sure that I was very clear on my end. So that way the questions on the back end or towards the end of the job are like, well, we didn't discuss that, right? Because if you don't say it, that means it's not going to happen. If you don't bring it up, that means it was never an issue. So I'm finding a mixture now. Back then it wasn't, it was all conversation and that's pretty much it. And they would take notes, I would take notes. But a combination of emails, text, and a phone call or face-to-face to make sure that it's clear, make sure everything is clear, is well worth your time. Saves a lot at the end.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the same as commercial, I guess. I mean, you're really just trying to state clearly what you can get done. But a lot of homeowners, I suspect, they have 5 days vacation. They're going to take it and they want to get their entire house refloored or whatever. That has to take some nuance to like
Empire commercial. Well, I saw the commercial on Empire. They did the whole living room, everything, and he just went like this.
Yeah, there's a little more to it.
Yeah.
Well, and there's those companies out there, those residential companies that's like floors installed the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how often does that actually happen? I don't know. That's not my world. I'm always, and I know it's not your guys's either. Again, a whole nother podcast against this free installation and that kind of talk.
So
should
we
be
do have
outlawed.
a couple residential installers chiming in. Kendall says that 100% it takes a lot of patience, like hands down, right? And then Dirk says that taking the little extra time to talk to the client, get the homeowner and say, hey, it's kind of what's going on, and just take them through the process. And then he says once you get the homeowner on your side, it's pretty much do whatever you need to do to make it right. I don't want to be living here and then having issues popping up throughout the lifetime of this floor. If it's going to be done right now, do it right.
So there's 2 pieces of nuance then.
Yeah.
Like and I appreciate what Kendall commented there is patience. If you show frustration, I'm assuming he's indicating don't show frustration to the homeowner and just be very patient with them. And it can get rough and tumble in the commercial world. You can get into it with the superintendent and the next day you guys are high-fiving. That's just that different world.
Been there.
You get into it with a homeowner. I'm just assuming that like the 1 or 2 times it happened to me, I was the SOB of the world. Like I was not their favorite person.
Well, I mean,
ever
you
again.
look at it, and I'll go back to the groups again, right? Because I remember seeing a post that was like, this homeowner like kicked me out of their house and they won't give me my tools back. Like, what is going on? Like,
you gotta look at it like this too. Like you're in someone's home, right? Like you are in their personal, their domain, their kingdom. And how
would that make
you feel? How would you feel if would you just let someone you don't like in your home, right? And then, you have to babysit them or someone you don't trust? No, right? So like as soon as I decide like I don't like someone, last place they're going to be is in my house.
True.
And that's the hard part right there is, and it's not about making them like see your way, because I don't try to oversell. If you start overselling things because you're trying to sell things instead of find solutions, they're going to anybody will pick up on that right away. Right? Anybody. But if you're helping find solutions and being authentic, then it creates a better relationship right away. Express concerns, but not like, you don't want that. That's garbage. Well, that's not really the quality that that we were talking about. Like we're talking about a quality that's right here, and the material that you keep picking is down here. I know that the price point isn't what you want, but in order to get that quality up here, we have to raise that budget a little bit.
Well, that's when you
Yeah.
start talking
Yeah.
value, right? The
Yeah.
value of this flooring, you're not going to get the same value out of this, and it's only 15 cents a square foot more. You know, you're talking pennies.
Yeah,
and-
and you're and like you brought up the electricians earlier, I'm sure that that same kind of thing, whether it's light switches or outlets or things of that nature that they have to do, that they have that same thing. It
Yeah.
seems to me that managing, specifically the homeowner, and that other nuance was quality is important on our commercial jobs, but you know as well as I do, on the superintendent knows he's walking away when that job's over. He's just trying to get his job done on time. And a lot of homeowners, it sounds like to me, what was the other gentleman that commented that? Because it sounds like to
Dirk.
me that, what's that?
Dirk.
Dirk. It seems like to me when you if you can bring the quality, that value to the forefront and say, hey, I want you to love your home forever. And I'm just spitballing here, but I want you to love your flooring forever. And rushing through this XYZ process is not going to do that for you. I want to do it right. You got to live on this floor. I want you to be happy for life. So building the value around quality sounds like one of the nuances. I mean, I've done that, tried to do that with commercial companies. And a lot of times you just run into this, like, I don't care. You're a professional. Get it done. Get more guys. Do whatever you got to do. It's
There's,
your problem. I have you under contract and the schedule states you're going to be done on this day. You got to figure that out. It's more abrupt.
You just made me think of something too. In commercial world, they don't want to micromanage what you're doing, right? They want you to come in, do your job. They're just expecting that you're going to do the best possible job you can with the equipment and material you're ordering. Residential, if they're present and they're there, they want to feel like they are part of the progress. They want to micromanage, I would call it, but it's not really micromanaging.
Micro watch.
Yeah, it's they're just absorbing information and helping through the process. And once something clicks, they want to be part of it 100%. So you just made me think about it in a different way. So now,
Yeah,
now I learn how to be nicer, I guess, huh? Dang.
well, we also don't, I'm assuming you don't have like written, not the contracts we go through. I was just reading contracts, some of them are that thick. You know what I'm saying? You don't have that kind of governance around a residential job either. So your real governance is your relationship with that homeowner. It sounds like I'm just picking up on some nuance from the comments here, but your contract is kind of more of the relationship with that person, because they can kick you out of their house, tell the store wherever they bought the stuff, I want someone else, or if it was direct with you, just hire someone else, and there's just not a lot of recourse for
I really
you.
like this person. We'll just order the material before the down payment. I don't like it. Oh, we're not ordering anything till I get paid.
And Kendall
Yeah.
says, we talked about, a few times too, it's presentation when you're working in residential, show up, introduce yourself, introduce your crew, and look the part. You don't want anyone just, we've all known one or two of the guys that's like, I can't really send you to this job, man, because
You're the nicest guy I know, but the face tattoos are not going to work. You know what I mean?
I've always
They're
been one to
certainly-
go against the grain, so it's I try not to use that, right? But as well as I do that certain things would make clients feel uncomfortable, right? Like you can't bring your kid to work sometimes in residential. It's just like you have your kid doing what? And
Yeah. You certainly can't do it in commercial. You get kicked off.
Yeah,
Right.
you can't send a leaky van, a van that's leaking oil into a concrete driveway that's brand new construction. There's just things that you can't do. You know what I mean? But as far as like let's just say demographic, and then two different demographics coming together on a job site. Man, like back in the day, it was like, am I going to be okay going there because I'm Hispanic, right?
Well,
Now they don't care if you have a man bun, they don't care
So-
if you're black, white, whatever. Like they just, if you're professional and you're cordial and you do a good job,
yeah.
That-
So as see if I can mention, we were talking to Brian Artioli. I don't know if you were there for this conversation or not. Yeah. He was saying that he does like a white glove service, and he'll go in there, and when he starts moving furniture, you know, they put on the white gloves to make sure that they're not leaving fingerprints and stuff. And he says, and you know, most of the time it's just a gimmick. You want those clients to see. Like if we have the house, the white gloves ain't going on. But if there's a homeowner there, you're like, and they're not paying attention, you're like, hey, you don't yell hey, but you're like, putting the white gloves on, you know, just getting their attention real quick.
just walk around looking like Mickey Mouse.
But
Well,
you want to make sure that they know that you know how precious their stuff is to
Yeah.
them, because it's the same thing in your house, right? Like, the hell are you doing with my stuff around like that, bro? Like, that's been in the family for 50 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that side of the world, man. You guys, kudos to the residential guys out there, because it takes a certain demeanor and approach, it sounds like, for sure, to gain the trust. And you only have a few minutes, right? I mean, that's human nature. You only have a few minutes. Whereas like superintendents or something like that on a commercial job, even if they don't like you, they don't care as long as they don't care. You don't care as long as you get the job done. And there's plenty of superintendents over the years that did not care for me, but I got their job done, and I was respectful enough, and you could get into it. And you know, there's just different solutions in the construction, commercial construction world. Not so much as today as it used to be, but I remember getting into a little verbal scuffle with the superintendent and taking him a 6-pack of beer the next day and saying, I still don't like you, but here's beer for as a peace offering. You know, we got along the rest of the job. He still didn't care for me probably, but at the end of the day, we got the job done. It looked wonderful, and he helped make sure that the areas were ready. So, you know, those nuances between how to keep different types of customers happy, and it starts with managing the expectation going into the job.
Yeah, because
Which-
we talked about, I mean, a lot of what we talked about was like GCs and then homeowners, right? But you also have your commercial where you contract with, you know, those owners direct, and then that's when you do have to think more like the orthodontist that we did. I went and bought a bunch of plastic. They got, you know, all their equipment in there that's going to stay in there, and it's like, I'm not trying to have you guys clean everything, so we plastic everything off and take everything up.
Right. There's things like that when you're working direct with the client on commercial, that they're just not thinking about the same things that a construction company knows. Like, that's a standard. We know we're gonna have to clean this when we're done. You know, but they're
Right.
like, we're just doing the
But-
floors. We shouldn't have to do anything
But
else.
if you do the same job through a GC, you're like, you go in there and you do it, and then they're like, all this stuff is dusty, and it's like, it wasn't in my contract, man. Like,
Yeah, I didn't have protection of
yeah,
everything in dust protection. And yeah, it all comes down to understanding what the client's really looking for, it sounds like, you know.
Yep.
And how to best manage that. I hope that everybody got some like tidbits and tips and tricks. I do like the, you know, learning about the residential world. Tell you, in building Go Carrera, one of the things that has come to light is we basically have a toggle on the side on when you sign up for your profile that's like, how much residential and how much commercial have you done versus commercial have you done in the last 3 to 5 years or whatever. One of the retail clients we're doing a beta test with now said, well, where's your retail replacement toggle? And I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, man, we have residential guys that do wonderful work that are like bulls in a china closet when you send them to a residential replacement. Like, you need to figure out a way to identify the residential replacement installers versus just the residential installers who know how to do good stretch in or good
Hmm.
residential installation. I was like, it's a nuance I never even thought of, you
Right,
know?
so-
There's so many vertical markets just in our industry that it's crazy.
It does,
Yeah.
right. A brand new build is way different than a renovation. And I think Daniel has it categorized in our system too, from remodels to new construction to healthcare. So he's got all those markets separated in there, so we can see where we're,
where we're making money and where we're not.
yes, yeah. And
That's
then we
the reason, but it probably does help you planning on the front side too.
it definitely helps. It helps everyone understand that there's going to be a different set of guidelines for that project. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
this is a residential remodel. I don't think I've ever done a brand new residential project. I'll be honest. I don't think I've ever had that luxury.
No, all of our
Really?
brand new residentials have been multifamily units. Whether it's,
Yeah,
like it could just be like 4 apartments, but it's never just a brand new house. That's more like what Dirk does. He'll go,
Yep.
he has accounts with some builders and it's like, we're building 24 houses this year. First one starts on this day and last one is going on this day.
Interesting. Yeah, there are a lot of verticals in our business. So key takeaways for sounds like be respectful, build rapport, communicate, and educate. Like
Yep.
that's what I've gotten out of this.
and execute.
And execute. Yeah. Do what you say you can do and then kind of buffer that a little bit.
Yeah,
Well,
Awesome.
we always,
Go ahead.
we talk about exceeding customers' expectations. So that's where under promise and over deliver comes from, right? It's like go in there with the mindset that you're gonna blow every single job out of the water. You want them people to look at everything and be like, this is amazing. Just have that mindset every time you go in a job.
yeah. And if you're not confident in how you're gonna the process or the execution, be confident that you're gonna have a solution for that, right? Because then you can talk around that point. I want to say talk around it. Then you can avoid having that conversation about how you're not comfortable and have the conversation about this is what I'm going to do to remedy if we were to hit the scenario.
Awesome. Well, guys,
Gotta
I think
go.
we've kind of mustered through that one. And I tell you, there's always like this thought in my head when I come away with some new ideas or new nuggets from the podcast, because I learn as much as anybody in these things of how do I go back and implement some of it, and I think that being really clear with your customer is probably the give it, like how do I say it? It's the everybody knows that, but building the relationships in different manners, and specifically when you start talking about residential, it sounds like to me that it goes a long way if the person likes you. Like you said, you're going to be in their home. So it goes a long way if they like you and you treat them
Especially
with
if they got
respect.
more projects going on later, they'll invite you back.
Mhm.
Yep. Cool. Well, guys, I'm sure
about
we're
that.
gonna.
Talk about the scholarship before we get off of here too.
Oh, good point. So coming up, we're gonna be the SIM scholarship is still going. We will be announcing that here in about 10 days. The
I think
winner
we announced it in January, but it's still going on
closes
until the
in
18th.
about 10 or
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you for the
See,
clarification.
look,
Yes.
that's why I brought
It closes in about 10, 15 days, and then we'll be announcing that in January. So make sure to sign up. I know it's on all of our socials. Ashlyn, if you'll post it again as a reminder to everybody, and we'll all reshare. So you can also go to our blog and find about it there at gocareer.com. And then Tice is coming up. That's kind of the next show in January. I'll be speaking at that event on a few different topics. I have 2 speaking engagements there, so I'll be speaking at that event and one of them, one of the topics has already been set, and it's going to be about labor. Obviously, I feel like that's where my at least competency is. So come join us there. It's in Las Vegas. You'll never have a bad time anyway, especially Las Vegas in January. So
If you don't bring the right shoes, you'll have a bad time.
Yeah. They
Yeah,
got stores everywhere though, so it's fine.
yeah, if you don't bring it, just buy it. That's
Yeah.
what my wife says anyway.
That's what I say too. Except for when we travel out of the country, then I'm like, I'll be all right without this for 5 days or whatever.
All right, guys. Well, we will catch you guys next week, and we'll be coming up on. You guys got any Christmas parties planned for your company?
Not yet. I was actually just looking at a few things earlier. I haven't even talked to him about it yet, so stay tuned.
Stay tuned. All right. All right, guys. Well, appreciate you so much, and great topic. Really good conversation. So I appreciate everybody participating. If you are watching this on one of our social channels, please comment. Let us know what you want us to talk about. What would you like to hear from us? Or, give us some feedback on what you thought of the podcast. If you're on YouTube, give us a like and subscribe. Thumbs up, thumbs down, either way, doesn't matter to us. It does help us to get noticed on the good old YouTube algorithm, the more people that watch and interact with our videos. So with that, I will let you guys go, and we will see you next week.
All right,
Thanks,
see ya.
everybody.
All right, see ya.